Another edition of the TwinSpires jury. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Darin Zoccali. Following an action-packed Breeders' Cup, and now we are shifting our focus to Churchill Racing and a big weekend at Aqueduct. So we'll focus on the Grade 2 Mother Goose, the Grade 3 Long Island, and then the Grade 3 River City at Churchill Downs, all on Saturday. And we'll have our rapid fire fades at the end. Plus, Darin will talk about promos and tournaments in the middle of our show. But we'll jump right in at Aqueduct and head to the Grade 2 Mother Goose. It's race 9 on Saturday, a mile and an eighth on the main track for 3-year-old fillies, 3:39 p.m. Eastern time. And James, I'll start with you. What's your pick?
Well, thank you, Ashley. I'm going to go with number 3, Lemon Zest. We both have the same pick in this race, and I think in the other 2 races, we're all on 3 different horses. But Lemon Zest is a 3-year-old filly by Nyquist, trained by Brad Cox. She broke her maiden the second time out, 3 starts previously, by pretty comfortable margin, going a 1-turn mile at Churchill. Went back to a mile distance at Ellis, like a 3/4 mile distance, and won pretty convincingly an allowance race. And then she stepped up to true two-turn distance last out in the Remington Park Oaks, this Godolphin filly. You can see her basically dueled pretty much throughout during the opening stages. Pace wasn't too modern. Oh, this is her allowance win 2 starts back. I'm so sorry. I thought this was the Remington Park Oaks. Last out in the Remington Park Oaks, she dueled on a short lead from the start. Basically got weakened in the stretch to finish second. So there she was. Who's in this race for O'Neill. But I thought that was a great experience for this lightly raced up-and-coming daughter of Nyquist. She may be able to run her best effort here by sitting close to the pace. But in my estimation, her best weapon in this spot is her speed. I don't want to see her sitting there going head and head with another horse through 48 3/5 or 48 and change like she was last time. She should be going 46. Put your speed to use. Try to get an open lead in here. And I like her chances on the front end. Like I said, I think she'll improve in her second stakes attempt for Brad Cox, Lemon Zest.
Darin, you're on the same pick as me. I'll let you start with why you like Cue the Duck Boats.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to the Mother Goose being run in November. It's a bit of an adjustment for me. It's been run in May or June of the Triple Tiara season for much of its history. But yeah, Cue the Duck Boats. Her last start in the Ontario Damsel, she was just extremely wide in there, ran over synthetic for the first time. When she straightened up, I thought she finished quite well that particular day. Her dirt form exceeds that particular race. Her Saratoga win up over the summer on Labor Day was, I thought, very good. She was a nice winner coming out of the Wilson Chute, going that kind of elbow trip out of that mile, and broke her maiden at Churchill Downs back in June as well. You're getting a look at that allowance victory here that I was mentioning up at Saratoga. The Bill Mott trainee just rallied after getting off to a little bit of a slow beginning. Kind of leaned in a little bit on the stretch there against Fully Subscribed, who she encounters here once again. Fully Subscribed would come out of this race to win, so I thought that was a pretty key race. But Cue the Duck Boats here, leveled off nicely, draws clear. I think the mile and an eighth is going to be to her benefit as well. By Bernardini, she's run well and has a win at a mile and an eighth in the past, which is not something that many of these runners can say. The 6-1 morning line, I think, is certainly more than fair. It's a very competitive race from top to bottom, as evidenced by the fact that you're looking at a morning line favorite of just 3.5 to 1 being Drexel Hill, who has not run since the Kentucky Oaks, a good second that day back in May. I thought there was enough pace to set things up for Cue the Duck Boat. She'll be in kind of that mid-pack position once again. I'm hoping that they go quick up front. I hope a lot of those fillies are looking for similar forward trips, and I'm hoping the stretch out to the mile and an eighth makes a difference for her, the red-hot team of Junior Alvarado and Bill Mott. So a lot of positive angles. I do concede, though, Ashley, even though we landed on the same horse, you could tell me that any of 6 or 7 of these won, and it wouldn't shock me. I think it's very, very tough.
Yeah, you made a lot of the points I was going to cover. I was looking at the one being myself and trying to make a case for that horse, trying to make a case even for Drexel Hill, but the layoff is a little bit of a concern, and I wouldn't want to take the shorter price on that horse. But Bill Mott, Junior Alvarado, They just got the win in the distaff with Scylla at the same distance, so maybe they can do it again here with Q the Duck Boats. And last out race on the all weather, had a bit of a wide trip in the stretch run, and then ended up getting up late for fourth by 3 lengths behind the winner. She'll get more ground today. And this is a little bit of an odd stat, but Phil Mott 3 for 3 in the last 3 years, I believe, on Bristnet, at least on past performances, 3 for 3 going from all weather to dirt. I know it's a small sample size, but a very high ROI as well. I believe it was like $6 in return on investment for that angle. So a little bit of a strange one, not really why I picked the horse. I do think the horse has faced better company too. And I tried to make a case for being myself, but that horse has faced a little bit weaker company. The fact that Q the Duck Boats has probably faced some of the toughest company among the field and has that win, like you mentioned, at 9 furlongs. That was the big reason that I stuck with the horse that we're getting a decent price, 6-1.
I thought you were on my horse, Ashley, initially.
No,
No, she likes me better than you do.
Yeah, but I do want to mention a long shot that I did take a look at as well in here, and it's number 2, Queen Azteca. This filly, you look at her PPs, and she was running in Sweden, which immediately makes me throw up some red flags. But you go further back earlier this year in Maydan, I think she proved some legitimacy in those races in earlier this year in Dubai. And, she ran 5th in the Grade 1 Alabama, to nitrogen. I think she needed that race in a sense, eligible to improve. And it really caught my eye how she's working these bullets for Rudolph Brissett. When I saw her initially in Alabama, I thought she'd be the longest shot by a mile. She went off 13-1 that day. And I think she does have some talent. So I just thought I'd mention that as a long shot to consider.
I did look at that horse. Go ahead, Darin.
I'm sorry, Ash. I was just going to say, I remember her over the winter and going into the spring in Dubai, that the fact that she was coming in from Sweden was kind of this very interesting storyline. And she went into the UAE Derby as kind of, having a lot of fanfare over there. And, she didn't run terribly against the boys that day, 5th against the field of 9. With the exception of the UAE Derby, the thing with her was I just never knew exactly what she was racing against and what she was beating. So that was my thing with her. But she's makes for an interesting filly to, come out of the race against Nitrogen, who certainly ran well in the distaff, running second to Scylla.
I was trying to look at her past performances or racing form, and does she typically come from far back? Like, that was a little bit of the concern, was it seemed like sometimes she does come from pretty far back, and I just don't know how hot this pace is going to be. Mm-hmm. And that is why I did sort of look at your horse, James, because if Lemon Zest does go to the front, I'm trying to figure out who else. There's the 8 who would probably go to the front as well, but I don't know who else is really going to try to get that early lead. So there is a little bit of concern of how hot a pace we're going to get. I still think we'll be fine with Q the Duck Boats sitting a little bit off the pace, but for a late closer, that was the issue for me. So I didn't watch the replays, I'll be honest.
Queen Azteca? Yeah, she comes from off the pace.
Okay, that's what
Yeah, even in Dubai. I mean, Sweden races, I wouldn't really put too much into in terms of running style. It's kind of like when you have like a horse coming from, Ireland who shows speed going 1.5 miles on the turf. And, you think that she's going to show speed in the U.S. So I wouldn't look into those. But the races in Dubai, she came from off the pace.
Okay. Yeah. Well, next up we have the Grade 3 Long Island, and it's 1 3/8 miles on the turf. Fillies and mares 3 years old and up. 4:09 p.m. Eastern time. Darin, you live closest in proximity to Long Island, so I'll let you start first.
I do. It still takes about 7 years to get there because of New York City traffic, but I do live relative as the crow flies. I live closest for sure. I think you're onto something with your pick, and I'll let you talk about it because I was actually very much intrigued by her. But I went to Amber Cascade. I think the price in the morning line is pretty fair. She was favored last time out in the Grade 2 Rodeo Drive and admittedly threw in a little bit of a clunker. And the thing I'm going to forgive there, that was a rare race in California on the turf that just had no pace whatsoever. You don't really – I know it's 1.25 miles, but you don't see turf races at Santa Anita go 48-2, 113. And I think she was just forced into a situation where she was just kind of sitting second by default. I don't think she wants to be that close to the pace. If you take a look at her best races, she comes from well off the pace. She was a very good second in the Flower Bowl doing just that. And I thought her best race of the year might have been at Ellis Park in the Kentucky Downs Preview Ladies Turf Mile, where she was narrowly defeated just by a head at odds of 38-1. And that was her first race off the claim for Mike Maker. And you're going to get a look at that here. This is Amber Cascade down on the rail in the pink with the white blaze. And she is finishing with a flurry here, kind of angling out, looking for racing room. She's going to split horses here, coming through a really tight hole. But she's just going to get nipped on the wire by the filly on the outside in a blanket finish. I thought that was a really good effort. She followed that up by an excellent effort in the Grade 2 Flower Bowl, running against horses like Beleza, who's as honest as the day is long, and Be Your Best, who's been a prominent filly on the turf for a couple of years now. I'm going to forgive the Rodeo Drive for the reasons that I said. Hope she can work out a good trip here. She's Mike Maker. I mean, how many times have we seen this? Claims a horse, goes to the turf, completely different animal. That's what I think we have with Amber Cascade here.
I was going to say, that is Mike Maker's move, taking claimers, turning them into graded stakes winners on the turf, and that almost happened first start for his barn. I think you're on to a good horse with a better price than the one that I have based off of potential trip.
Well,
But
you have the pace advantage.
I do.
Yeah.
I guess I'll go ahead and talk about the pace advantage, and that was kind of why I ended up with Beach Bomb, and I had to do the handicapping ahead of the morning line coming out, which I figured probably we're going to get Beach Bomb as the morning line favorite. I'm okay with it, 3-1. This is the horse that probably will get the early lead, though last out did come from off the pace and was just beating a neck in the Grade 3 Y at Belmont at Aqueduct, and was racing that mile and 3/8 distance and very, very close, had a 119 class rating from that start. Ultimately, this horse just has better overall speed figures too, had a 97 Bristnet speed figure last out, and also a class advantage, I would say. So it was hard for me to make a case for another horse in this field. I do think you have a good pick there, Amber Cascade, but Beach Bomb, to me, my gut was saying this is going to shape up well for her. And if you go by prime power ranking, a 161.7, 5 points higher than the next closest runner, way to be Marie. So a lot to Beach Bomb's advantage. James, you obviously see, well, you have a 4-1 choice, but tell us why you like Immensitude.
Yeah, but Immensitude is going to be prominent from the break. And if we look back at this race earlier this year at Gulfstream Park in late March, early March, the Very One, the Grade 3 Very One, Beach Bomb led wire to wire that day. Immensitude sat up close to her and finished third. Immensitude came back in her Beach Bomb came back and led wire to wire in her next race. But ever since then, her form is becoming more and more like a stalking, maybe up close stalker type. She was way back last time, 7.5 lengths off the pace at the first call. Immensitude's gone the other way. Her speed since earlier this year when she was running at Gulfstream has become much more sharp in her last two races. And this is a 5-year-old mare, Immensitude, for Bill Mott, that she placed in 4 graded stakes last year at a mile and 3/8 or longer. So we know she likes longer distances, 4 consecutive graded stakes at long distances. Mott brought her back from a freshening in late June, and I think her form has really taken off since that first race back. She put in back-to-back seconds, and last time I really was impressed by how she won pretty comfortably. I think she's moving the right direction for a hot barn, and I think she's going to get a favorable up-close trip from the start. So I'm going to take a filly that comes in on the upswing for Bill Mott and Junior Alvarado, number 6, Immensitude.
Darin, what are your thoughts on the kind of trip that Beach Bomb is going to try to go for here?
I think she's probably going to sit second to Immensitude, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I just don't think there's much other early speed in here. No show Sammy Joe, can go forward, but they're typically in races that have relatively slow half miles, and the rest of the field is all looking for similar trips. I fully expect Junior Alvarado to get very aggressive with Immensitude, and I think Beach Bomb is going to sit a very, very good spot stalking on the inside, and I'm going to have to make up some ground on you guys, I think. But that's okay. I don't mind taking a horse that's going to be coming from off the pace, going 11 furlongs. But again, New York turf racing, there's been a lot of times where I throw a pen across the desk because a horse at 14-1 goes wire to wire because everybody else fell asleep. So that could certainly happen here.
Yeah, I was kind of back and forth on did I think Immensitude or Beach Bomb who would go for the early lead? Because if you look at Immensitude's fractions last out, it was slow, and Beach Bomb did have some very slow fractions. And what was that start? It would have been the, let's see, the very one, yeah. But then the Orchid was a bit faster. So yeah, you're right. Maybe Beach Bomb goes for setting right off the early speed, but I do think still
I mean,
overall it just has an advantage.
if I'm Graham Motion, the only thing that I would kind of look at this and say, well, she hasn't won her last 5 starts, and those are all races that she hasn't made the lead. And the previous 2 races, even though one of them was a rather slow pace, she did go wire to wire. So
Hmm.
just send her.
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, just go. That's how I would read it. But I'm not going to listen. Graham Motion a lot smarter than I am, so I'm not going to tell him what to do. But that, I mean, looking at the form, that does kind of jump off the page. But we'll see.
yeah.
And I really thought she was going to go when she was favored in the Beverly D this summer.
Yeah, so did I.
That was another race that didn't have much pace in it, and she was rating like almost 10 lengths off of it in third.
Yep.
We'll have our answer on Saturday. But before we move on to Churchill Downs, we have some promos and tournaments to talk about. Darin, what's going on at TwinSpires?
And the promos we're going to talk about are at Churchill Downs. Kids, that's what you call a
right.
very nice segue. We have some good promos Saturday and Sunday. We'll kick it off with the $3,000 win ladder. And this is quickly becoming one of, if not the most popular promotion at TwinSpires. It has 3 different levels that you could reach based on the number of winners you have on the card. And all you need to do is make qualifying win wagers. It covers all of the races throughout the day. So this coming Saturday, if you make at least a win wager of at least $5, so you're not breaking the bank, $5. If you hit 3 winners, you're going to share in $500. If you hit 4 winners, you're going to share in another $1,000. And if you hit 5 winners from the 11 races, you're going to share in another $1,500, which means if you get 5 winners betting just $5 on each race, and you don't have to go 5 for 5, you can go 5 for 11, you're going to share in $3,000. And a lot of people seem to like it. It incentivizes the easiest wager to win on, and that's what we need to do is put money in our players' pockets and promote the wagers that they can hit on most successfully and help them build their bankroll and their churn. So the win ladder every Saturday at the Churchill Downs meet. And then we have the Sunday, their new $3 late pick 3. That has been a very popular wager. We're going to make it a little bit better. $3,000, hit it and split it. Bet the late pick 3 on Sunday. Opt in. If you hit it, you're going to share in another $3,000. And I'll quickly just also mention on Fridays, $1 million. $1 million. That'd be nice. Million point, million point. Hit it and split it on the late pick 5 on Fridays. So if you like really building up your points balance and our rewards, be sure to opt into that as well. Tournaments, a couple of good ones to talk about coming up. We have a Clark Betting Challenge qualifier coming up on Saturday. The Clark Betting Challenge itself, of course, on Clark Day, that's the day after Thanksgiving, is going to award NHC seats, KDBC seats, and guaranteed cash prize pool as well. So you have an opportunity to get and win your way into that $2,000 tournament on Saturday. And of course, we have supporting feeders and bonus feeders for that. And then next Saturday, a big day at Churchill Downs, it's Claiming Crown Day. And we have teamed up with the NTRA and the NHC to offer a Claiming Crown NHC qualifier. We are guaranteeing 2 seats to the prestigious National Horse Players Championship event in Las Vegas, Nevada. That will take place on Saturday, November the 15th, $500 contest. And once again, take part in the feeders and bonus feeders all the way leading up to it to win your way into that. So even though the BCBC is behind us, guys, we still have a lot of great tournament stuff. And by the way, a big thank you to our tournament players. We had 82 participating players in the BCBC this year playing on TwinSpires, and that's up from 35 last year. So from year 1 to year 2, we grew from 35 players to 82. So we certainly appreciate the support and all of our players playing with us.
Yeah, now that we've talked about all of these promos and tournaments at Churchill Downs, let's look at the Grade 3 River City on Saturday. It's race 11, a mile and 1/8 on the turf for 3-year-olds and up, 5:55 p.m. Eastern time. James, what is your pick in this race?
Well, first off, I'll just say there's plenty of pace entered in here. You got a Quattrocento and Wolfie's Dynagos, they're E8 types. And then Epic Ride, who led all the way in the mid-millions, didn't make the lead in the Coolmore Turf Mile last time, ran poorly. I wouldn't be surprised to see him send from the inside. So it's going to set up, I think, for either a stalker or late runner. I landed on number 7, Mercante. This is a 5-year-old gelding. I love his Churchill Downs form. I thought his close second to Spirit of St. Louis in the Grade 1 Old Forester Turf Classic and his victory over Brilliant Birdie in the Grade 3 Arlington were top-class efforts. And after the Arlington, he got a bit of a freshening, was off for a little more than 2 months. And we'll see he's in the red to the outside of Brilliant Birdie on the inside. Real game performance. Brilliant Birdie was undefeated on the turf at Churchill Downs coming into this race. And these 2 horses slugged it out to the wire with Mercante proving best. He came back from that layoff, ran a close 4th in the Kentucky Downs Turf Mile preview. And then instead of running in the mid-millions at Kentucky Downs, Connections tried Mercante at 1.5 miles in the Kentucky Turf Cup. He was in position to win that race, turning for home. The distance was probably too far at 1.5 miles, but he ran a good 4th that day. Last time at Keeneland, he just got off to a bad start. I thought the break cost him any chance, had a good effort. And the thing about Mercante is that these turf courses at Keeneland and Churchill play differently. He's a horse that loves Churchill Downs turf. I'm not too worried about Grade 1 efforts, how he runs at Keeneland, except for the fact that that's going to help him be fit for his return in the River City Saturday. So I'm on Mercante, 10-1 on the morning line.
He has a horse for the course. He's got a win, a second, and a third from 3 tries on that Churchill turf. And you get that 10-1 price. He's kind of the headliner in a way. Like if you read the press release, he's the big name, but interesting, he's 10-1 on the morning line. Darin, tell us why you like Lagnos, who is 9-2.
Well, the one thing about Lagnos that I thought was interesting before I get into anything about the horse, didn't Frankie Dettori say he was retiring on Saturday?
Yeah, and I don't think he's riding. So
there's a video of him coming off the racetrack going, I made it. That's it. I'm done. And then I got the PPs for this and I go, wait a minute. Lagnos, when I looked at this race, I saw the same thing that James saw. Not only is there a lot of pace, but it's pace for horses that seemingly need the lead in order to run their best race. Encino has proven that if he, not so much Encino, Epic Ride has proven that if he does not get the lead, he's not going to win. Encino wants to be forward. Wolfie's Dynagos is a horse that clearly does his best running when he's on the lead. I mean, something's got to give with all of these horses that want the same trip. And, looking at the race, I said, well, if a deep closer is going to win, Chasing the Crown is probably going to win the race, and he's going to go off favored in here. So when I got into the group of stalkers, Lagnos looked awfully good to me. He put together back-to-back strong races at Kentucky Downs. Now you could argue that maybe he's a horse for the course there, but he strung together a very nice 3-race stretch at Churchill Downs over the summer, where he ran second in the opening verse, third in the Arlington, third in the Wise Dan, and in the Arlington, I mean, he did everything in that spot but win that day, where he rallied from kind of well back in the field, actually, that particular day, through fractions that were not really strong, and just got within 3/4 of a length of Mercante and Brilliant Birdie. And Brilliant Birdie would come out of that race to win the Grade 2 Wise Dan over Lagnos and taking Candy. So a lot of these horses have kind of been squaring off against each other. But he's kept his form. He's been razor sharp throughout the year. And I just think he's going to find himself in that first group of stalkers where he gets first run. And I like him the best out of that group of runners in here. I thought that the 11 Tappet Shoes, if you want a deep closer, was interesting at a price. I thought his last race at Presque Isle was kind of interesting, and I wouldn't be shocked if a lot of these horses come back to him. And I'm going to include him on the bottom of the exotics. But on top of the field, I am going with the thought he was retired, maybe unretired. We'll find out. Frankie Dettori with Lagnos.
Lagnos is definitely another horse. Loves Churchill turf. It only has 1 win, but he has 5 placings, and those are all stakes races, a bunch of tough graded turf stakes races at Churchill. He's been running in the last 2 years. But the one thing is, last year he made one start in the fall and he won the Grade 3 Commonwealth Turf pretty convincingly. So you know he runs well at Churchill, because the turf isn't going to play the exact same wherever you are, as long as you're not in the South in the fall going into the winter, as it does in the heat of the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's always closed well in those stakes races at Churchill. And I almost went with Lagnos too. I'm pretty sure that Frankie is not going to be on Lagnos, but I don't know for sure. Don't quote me. So I don't know. That was kind of why I started to shy away. I don't really know who the rider is going to be. And since I don't know if it's Frankie, that variable left me wondering, okay, am I going to trust whoever is named to ride? But the other thing too, Lagnos is coming off a more than 2-month layoff. And if you look at his full race history, I don't think he's ever won off a layoff. So I was a little concerned about that. And I ultimately landed on the 10 or the 12, Taking Candy. This is a horse who won at the distance in the Grade 3 Fairground Stakes from a stalking trip, and then turned around, went to Churchill, faced Grade 1 Company in the Turf Classic, but weakened to 10th in that race. We're watching the Fairground Stakes here. But they got back to 8.5 furlongs in the Wise Dan. He was a rallying second by less than a length that day, and then he rallied late to finish a 2-length fifth at a mile in his last start. So stretching back out should help him, and returning off a layoff, working really well. Axel Concepcion is picking up the mount. Jose Ortiz was on the mount in the Fairground Stakes, and he's going to be on Corruption, who I took a look at as well. But ultimately, I liked that Taking Candy is going to be coming from off the pace, has really good late pace figures, including a triple-digit late pace figure in that Fairground Stakes win. So I will take the 8-1 price with a late runner. We all like a late runner here.
Corruption runs his best races on the lead too. So there's
I know. But he did actually early in his career, he did kind of
he was a little bit more
stalking trips, but
versatile
lately
earlier in
has
his
been going to
career.
the front, so that was a concern. Yeah, there's a lot of speed here. All kind of inside too. The Quattro Cinto, another one that seems to want to go to the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could set up for what's the horse's name? Chasing the Crown. But
yeah, I mean, if the race falls apart, he's going to win. Yeah, if the race completely falls apart, he's going to win. Yeah.
Well, now it's time for our rapid fire fades. And Darin, you have a race earlier on the card at Churchill, so tell us about your fade of the week.
Yeah, this might be it's probably one of the bolder fades I've had in some time, because this horse is in very good form. I'm going to fade Our Disaster. I looked at this race really, really carefully, and again, this race seems to have a lot of horses that want to go forward and have a lot of early speed. I mean, when you take a look at like Hillarito, Hillarito has never not been at the lead at the opening quarter, the opening half, and Our Disaster is typically in that spot as well. And there's other speed also. I just think that, something's got to give here. And there's a lot of horses that I looked at this race and I thought had a chance if they got the right trip from off the pace. I thought the two outside runners, Minx Palace and Helena's Forte, were both very, very interesting in here. So this is a race that I thought in the long stretch at Churchill Downs. Now, even though Our Disaster has won at Churchill Downs, that was a 2-life claiming race last year. I'm just kind of hoping that maybe off a couple of monster figures that it's time for a regression. And if there's a lot of speed thrown at her, maybe this is the spot that's going to happen. So I respect her. She's an excellent racehorse. I'm just looking for somebody else to look her in the eye early and set things up for a horse from off the pace.
It's a little bold, but I don't think it's a terrible idea considering all the other speed. And Minx Palace and Helena's Forte, as you mentioned, they both come from off the pace, and they also are distance specialists and really like Churchill Downs.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't blame you for not wanting to take the 9-5, who's going to have to compete with all that early speed. James, what is your fade of the week?
Yeah, that Minx Palace. I definitely 6 furlongs. She's like she's been vulnerable longer. My play against is in number 1, Alalic Roa, in race 5, the one horse. It's 2-1. Like, this filly has all the back class you want for a broodmare. An Irish Group 3 winner back in early last year. She followed that effort with a runner-up effort in the Group 1 Irish 2,000 Guineas. Irish 1,000 guineas, excuse me, for fillies. And then she ran third in the Grade 1 Falmouth. And then she reappeared she went to auction, sold for 1.3 million off of that Group 3 win and 2 Group 1 placings, and came back this year, and it's been a show of herself. Ran last in the Just a Game, ran fifth in the Perfect Sting. Last time at Keeneland, she went off almost 7-1 in this race. And just really, once again, in all 3 US starts, she can't get out of the gate effectively. She did come running it late here a little bit to be a belated third, but I'm just like, I'm playing against this filly because I don't think she's in good form, and she's going to be over bet based on her back class.
Yeah, I think it's a great call. In fact, when I looked at this race, I think this is now or never for her. She's Group 1 placed, as James mentioned. John Stewart and Resolute Racing paid $1.3 million for the horse coming out of those races. We're heading into the breeding season next year. They're putting the blinkers on to see if it wakes her up. If she don't run well here, I think this is her last race, and they're going to breed her next year. So I think this is a now or never time for her.
Yeah, and I will take it back over to Aqueduct, talk about the Pumpkin Pie Stakes. And my fade is number 8, Weigh the Risks at 9-5. It's not that this horse is not good, but moving up in class and a very short price. Last out, he wired the field in a 7 furlong allowance optional claimer at Saratoga, breaking from the rail. He's now breaking from the outside in the Pumpkin Pie Stakes. And he has sat off the pace in the past when he was going longer, but now he's going shorter. He's facing Stakes Company. A lot of these horses actually have stakes wins to their resume. You've got a really good horse in Nick Style, but coming off a 8-month layoff, riding a 4-win streak though, and the Real Post is winning at a 20% clip. You also have other horses with stakes wins like the 2, St. Benedict's Prep, Volleyball Princess, Scalable. I would much rather play those horses with the stakes experience who have done well in stakes, because Weigh the Risk has faced Stakes Company twice, but was a distant second 2 back in the Heavenly Prize, and then faced Graded Stakes Company and really wasn't a factor either. So not going to back Weigh the Risks at 9-5. I'm weighing the risk here, and I think that is too short for me.
Yeah, I actually just looked at this race for the
what do y'all think?
Well, yeah, I just looked at this race for the expert pick videos because I handicapped the Saturday card. James does a great job on Thursday and Friday, and I don't know who's going to go off favored between Nick Style and Weigh the Risks. I think it's going to be close. I just saw Nick Style is 2-1. I think that's an indication by David Aragona that it's a coin flip. Both of them have gaps in their starts. Nick Style hasn't raced now in 8 months. Weigh the Risks has 1 start in the last 9 months. So I think it's a pretty fascinating race from that standpoint. I think there's a lot of other options in here with horses that have been running more frequently recently that are in decent form. It's a pretty interesting race. Whenever you got 2 favorites like this that have those gaps in the starts, handicappers start to, kind of rub their hands together and think they have something to go after. And you obviously agree with that, fading the favorite. So good for you.
I like that Taliesin. I think that filly's a little sneaky. He's going to hopefully be overlooked based on those Parks races. But
well, she's crossing her too.
Yeah,
she's crossing her at Churchill. Yeah. So I'm curious where she's going to go.
Well, we'll see where she runs.
I don't know. She might pick this spot. It'd be a little bit easier for her.
I looked at her form in a different race. So no, I'm sorry.
Scalable is also really interesting. She's making her second race back off the layoff, and was a good winner of the Interborough over St. Benedict's Prep. And obviously, she's running some pretty big races throughout her career. I think it's interesting that they seem to gone back to the 1-turn approach here with her after she kind of fizzled out in the Cotillion and the Comely. They brought her back at Aqueduct. She won last winter. They gave her time off. Gallant Bloom, I don't know. Maybe she needed the race. Could certainly, say that and give her a shot second race back. If she's going to fire, she's going to fire here in all likelihood.
Yeah, that's the horse that I really liked the best, just with the value that you're getting and eligible to improve second off the layoff. Todd Pletcher, John Velasquez. What is there not to like? All right, well, that's all the time we have today for the TwinSpires jury. We'll be back next week to look at the Grade 3 Chaluki at Churchill Downs and the Claiming Crown. So a lot to look forward to. We will see you next Thursday.